We're now going to be looking at initializing a bean in a IoC container. So we've previously gone over all this code. We've made it, and this is in the video's link below the like button in the description, where we have our pom.xml file. We're not changing anything here. We have our IoT device. We are going to change a little bit in here. Then we have our application context. We had to change some in here from our Skillsoft, which this is based off of. This is what I'm taking from it. We've previously talked about different ways we can use the bean. They all work differently. To look at how they initialize differently, we can look at our main class, and we are going to change this a little bit. So the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to comment all of this out. This is what we've previously looked at. So this is all commented out. Now all we have is this application context. We're not going to look at this resource one yet. We'll come back to it later. This is for when we're using our beans, but this is using the application context for it. So we are storing it in app context. We have our new class path XML application, and we pass in our application context.xml. So we're basically passing in this XML file to our class path right here. So this new, and then it's going to be in our app context where we have our application context. Now, this application context is going to be making our beans right here. So let's go into our IoT device. We are going to need a constructor for this. I've previously said that this acts like as a constructor, which it really doesn't. I was a little bit incorrect. This is not our constructor. However, when we call the toString method for our instance, whenever we call our instance, like how we've had here, it would print out our toString once we have this implemented. We can see my device bean, that would actually call this toString right here, but it is not a constructor. Previously though, we have been using the default bean constructor. So that's how we would call it. And now we're going to override it. And this is our overriding of it right here. So we're just making a constructor, and we're printing out object created successfully inside of here just to see this. So this single line should create that object. If we go to our main and we run it, I should just print this out once. We see twice. And the reason why it prints it out twice, we see object created successfully, is because we have two instances of our bean right here. Let's just take this bean away. We actually can't comment it out here because it's not a Java file. We'll just cut it. We're going to go back to our main, and we're going to run it. And we should only get one object created successfully. So this is because we have two instances of our bean in our XML file. So we're creating it in our XML file. We have our bean ID, bean name, and this is just coming from our bean ID. We're using the class Skillsoft.IoT device. So we're getting our IoT in here, and it's from our Skillsoft folder that we can see if we open our project right here. So now that we have that, we can see that this works successfully. Now let's do it the other way. Now let's try this resource one. So we have resource, and we have our new class path source, and then we are passing our application context.xml. So this looks very similar to what we have right here. However, it's not going to be the same. So we should only have two objects created successfully when we run this. If we run this, and that's just because we have the two in our application context. So we have two right here. We don't have anything being printed out for here. What we need to do alongside of this is have our default listable bean factory, because we're using beans here and not our application context. So we have resource, new class path, our application context.xml. We have our default list bean factory. We have our bean factory. It's making a new default list bean factory. So this is just an instantiation right here. The bean factory points to the XML file, so we know exactly where the configurations can be found. So we set our XML bean definition reader. It's reading our XML bean reader, and then we want to pass in our bean factory right here. From here, we're going to add into this, because it's our XML reader, our resource, which is for our application.xml. So all of this is needed to bring us inside of here. However, the beans don't get initialized. This is due to the lazy bean initialization. It only gets instantiated when the main program calls them. Now this is where our IoT devices come in. So we've previously looked at these, and this is where we made the instantiation right here. We're gonna again have to do it down here. Now I did realize I made a mistake right here. It's this app context part. We're not using our app context anymore. Previously we did. So we're not going to have these. I just copied and pasted them from here just to see that our app context is again not what we're going to be using. We have this default listable bean factory. We again want to use the bean factory, not this right here. So we're gonna paste this in and paste this in. Because if we were doing this, it would again be the lazy instantiation where we wouldn't get any output. So now that we have this, we should have 4 objects created successfully, 2 from here, and then 2 more from here. And we see that we have 4. So that is exactly what we wanted. these are both two different ways to do the same exact thing. This one's with beans, this one's with their application context. Next, we're going to look at configuring beans with annotations, but that'll be in the next video linked below the like button in the description.